Hello, miladies of inestimable value. Not every mother is made of lullabies. Some are made of lightning wrapped in calm. They call her distant. They call her cold. But what if her silence is strategy, not absence? Studies in developmental psychology reveal something fascinating. Children raised by emotionally composed mothers often develop stronger independence, higher resilience, and sharper emotional intelligence. That's not a coincidence. That's Sigma energy at work. The Sigma female as a mother doesn't parent from the manual. She parents from instinct, intellect, and a quiet kind of rebellion. While other moms flood their homes with emotional theatrics and gentle parenting trends from TikTok, she's the one in the corner observing, calculating, and shaping her child's mind like a sculptor. Not through chaos, but control. She's not the mom who claps at every drawing or panics over every scrape. She's the one sipping her tea, saying, "Good, now you know gravity exists." It's not neglect, it's education through reality. She's cool where others are chaotic, distant where others are desperate. And that paradox, that strange blend of care and composure, is exactly what makes her both misunderstood and magnetic. Because when the Sigma female becomes a mum, she doesn't raise ordinary kids. She raises thinkers, warriors, and silent revolutionaries, forged in love that doesn't beg to be seen, but felt through every quiet, deliberate act. Number 1, she doesn't demand perfection, she demands awareness. She doesn't demand perfection, she demands awareness. That's the silent code of the Sigma female as a mother. To her, perfection is a prison built by society to keep people chasing approval instead of truth. She knows that raising a child to be flawless only creates another anxious adult pretending to have it all together. So she shifts the focus. She teaches her child not to aim for spotless performance, but for raw, unfiltered awareness, the ability to recognize one's emotions, motives, and actions in real time. When her child makes a mistake, she doesn't explode or moralize. She asks, "Why did you do it?" Not to punish, but to provoke reflection. She'd rather her child understand their darkness than fake innocence. Because awareness to her is real power. It can correct itself. Perfection can't. Perfection hides. Awareness heals. The Sigma female knows that awareness keeps a person free from manipulation. It teaches her child to read people beyond their words, to sense hidden agendas, to notice the emotional currents that control most of the world without anyone realizing. She wants her child to walk through life awake, not hypnotized by trends, validation, or fear of disapproval. That's why she doesn't worship the idea of good behavior. She values honesty over politeness, reflection over routine, truth over comfort. Her child learns that making a mistake isn't the problem. Repeating it unconsciously is. They grow up sharper, more emotionally intelligent, and self-correcting. And while other kids learn to say what adults want to hear, hers learn to speak from self-understanding. It's not an easy path, but it's a powerful one. The Sigma mum's home isn't filled with forced smiles or staged perfection. It's filled with awareness, sometimes uncomfortable, always real. She knows awareness makes people harder to control, harder to deceive, and stronger in the face of chaos. So she nurtures it relentlessly. And in doing so, she raises a child who doesn't crumble under failure or seek approval to feel worthy. A child who sees, understands, and adapts. That's her secret legacy, not raising a perfect human, but a conscious one. Someone who walks through life with open eyes in a world full of people who'd rather stay asleep. Number 2, her legacy is invisible, but indelible. Her legacy is invisible, but indelible. The Sigma female doesn't leave her mark in the ways most mothers do. There are no endless childhood photos with forced smiles, no dramatic stories of maternal sacrifice that beg for applause. Her legacy is quieter, more mysterious, yet it lasts far longer. It doesn't live in trophies, report cards, or staged perfection. It lives in the mind and soul of the child she raised, in the way they think, handle chaos, and face life without flinching. Her child may not fully understand her when they're young. She's not the overly expressive type who fills every silence with validation. She's composed, sometimes unreadable, and that can be confusing at first. But as her child grows, life begins to decode her, and that's when the truth hits. They realize her calm was strength, her silence was wisdom, and her distance was never absence. It was training. She was teaching them to find stability within themselves, not through her. Years later, her influence shows up in the smallest, strangest ways. The way her child pauses before reacting. The way they walk into chaos but never lose their center. The way they listen more than they speak. They become grounded, unshakable, self-aware, without ever realizing that every bit of that came from her. That's the invisible legacy. No speeches, no theatrics, just quiet impact that outlasts noise. She doesn't care if the world calls her a cold mum, because she knows time will vindicate her. The same emotional distance people misjudged becomes the very thing that makes her child strong. And when her child finally sees it, it changes everything. The respect that grows for her isn't based on nostalgia, it's based on truth. The Sigma female's legacy is subtle but unerasable. She doesn't just raise children, she shapes consciousness. Her children carry her energy long after she's gone, a calm that can't be shaken, a mind that can't be fooled, and a soul that refuses to settle. That's her silent immortality, not through fame or praise, but through the kind of strength that whispers, "She was here." Every time her child stands firm in a world that tries to make them bend. Number 3, she lets her child fail. On purpose. Failure to a Sigma female mother isn't something to be avoided. It's something to be introduced early. She doesn't flinch when her child falls. She observes. Because in that stumble lies the one thing most modern parenting has stripped away: resilience. She understands that every time she rescues her child from discomfort, she robs them of evolution. Scraped knees heal, but untested character never does. She knows that growth doesn't happen in safety. It happens in friction. When her child fails, she doesn't run to cushion the blow. She lets them feel it, analyze it, and rise from it. Not because she lacks empathy, but because she knows that success built without failure is fragile. It collapses the moment life stops being kind. The world won't always catch her child when they fall, and she refuses to raise someone who expects it to. Her kind of love is different. It's not the coddling kind that protects feelings at all costs. It's the refining kind that strengthens the mind. She'd rather see her child face a tough truth than live in a comfortable lie. She teaches them to take responsibility early, to see cause and effect not as punishment, but as power. To her, accountability is a survival skill. She doesn't say, "It's okay, it wasn't your fault." She says, "So what did you learn?" Because lessons learned through failure stick deeper than any lecture. Those moments of disappointment, frustration, or embarrassment become quiet turning points. They shape patience, awareness, and grit. The Sigma mother's approach may seem cold, even cruel to outsiders. But when her child grows, they don't break easily. They adapt. They recover. They don't run from pressure. They use it. And one day, when life hits them hard, they'll realize something profound. Their mother wasn't distant. She was preparing them. Every fall she didn't prevent, every silence she didn't fill, every consequence she didn't soften. It was love in its most disciplined form. To the Sigma female, failure isn't the enemy. It's initiation. It's the right that separates the fragile from the fearless, and she's raising the latter. Number 4. Her discipline is rooted in logic, not emotion. Her discipline is rooted in logic, not emotion. She doesn't believe in chaos disguised as parenting. When her child crosses a line, she doesn't erupt into shouting matches or guilt-drenched lectures. She's not interested in controlling her child through fear or emotional confusion. Instead, her correction is calm, deliberate, and razor-sharp. It cuts straight to awareness, not shame. Her goal isn't obedience, it's understanding. To the Sigma female, losing control while trying to teach control is hypocrisy. She refuses to scream because she knows once emotion hijacks the moment, reason leaves the room. She believes that discipline should enlighten, not humiliate. So when she corrects her child, her tone stays steady, her words are measured, and her logic is undeniable. She doesn't say, "You've disappointed me." She says, "You made a choice. Now let's look at why it didn't work." That's her way. Surgical precision that forces reflection instead of resentment. Her discipline isn't impulsive. It's intelligent. She never punishes to relieve her own frustration, because she understands that emotional outbursts teach fear, not respect. She'd rather her child think deeply than tremble temporarily. The message always lands because it's rooted in truth, not volume. Her silence after a mistake can feel heavier than another mother's shouting, not because she's cold, but because her disappointment carries weight. It makes her child analyze, not defend. The Sigma female doesn't weaponize guilt or affection. She doesn't manipulate her child into compliance by threatening love withdrawal. That's emotional blackmail, and she despises it. Instead, she models accountability by taking responsibility for her own tone, her timing, her words. In her home, emotional intelligence is the backbone of discipline. Her child grows to respect her not out of fear, but clarity. They know she means what she says, and she never says anything she doesn't mean. Her discipline doesn't leave scars, it leaves awareness. It teaches her child to think before acting, to weigh consequences, to own mistakes without collapsing. In a world full of impulsive parenting, her logic becomes her legacy, and her calm becomes her child's compass. Number 5. Her children inherit her mystery. Her children inherit her mystery, not because she teaches it, but because they absorb it by existing in her orbit. The Sigma female doesn't explain herself much, and that silence becomes her children's first language. They learn early that meaning doesn't always come from words. Sometimes it's hidden in energy, in presence, in what's not said. That's why her children grow up observant. They read tone, rhythm, and emotion like seasoned analysts, long before they even understand why. They sense things most people overlook. They can walk into a room and feel the temperature of truth without anyone speaking. That sensitivity doesn't come from fragility. It comes from exposure to her calm intensity. She doesn't teach them how to read people. She simply is someone worth studying. Her balance of softness and power becomes a living lesson. She shows them that emotions don't need to be loud to be real, and strength doesn't need to be aggressive to be effective. Her children inherit her restraint, her independence, and her quiet defiance. They're not the kind to chase popularity or validation, because she's never modeled that hunger. Instead, they grow into people who move through the world with quiet confidence, people who don't beg to be understood because they understand themselves. They're grounded but untamed, kind but never naive. There's always something slightly unpredictable about them, a calm intensity that keeps others curious and cautious at once. What they inherit most is her duality, the way she can be nurturing without smothering, distant without abandoning, loving without losing herself. They internalize that balance. It becomes their emotional blueprint, a rare blend of empathy and independence, Her mystery becomes their mirror. They carry her energy wherever they go. That subtle magnetism, that self-contained power, that refusal to conform just to be accepted. Even when they don't talk about her much, she echoes in their choices, their posture, their silence. The world sees them and senses something different: depth, composure, and quiet rebellion. That's her fingerprint on their souls. Her children don't just inherit her features, they inherit her frequency, rare, steady, and impossible to forget. Number 6. She teaches through contradiction. She teaches through contradiction, a method that confuses outsiders but shapes her children into some of the most emotionally intelligent people alive. The Sigma female doesn't fit into predictable parenting molds. One moment she's soft and gentle, the next she's steel and silence. It's not inconsistency, it's balance. She understands that life isn't a straight line of comfort or chaos, but a constant dance between the two. So, she raises her children to feel both, the warmth of love and the edge of truth, without ever needing to choose one over the other. She's affectionate, but not indulgent. Her hugs don't come cheap, and that makes them sacred. When she embraces her child, they know it's genuine, not habitual. And when she withholds affection, it's not punishment. It's a message. You don't always need external validation to feel secure. She nurtures her children's hearts while sharpening their minds. She'll comfort them when they truly need it, but she'll also dismantle their illusions when they start to live on lies. Her honesty can sting, but her children grow to crave it, because they realize it's the one thing in life that never betrays them. The Sigma female believes that truth and love are two sides of the same force. To lie for comfort is, to her, the ultimate betrayal. She would rather her child cry from a truth that liberates than smile under a lie that imprisons. Her love doesn't pamper. It purifies. It challenges. It refines. Her contradictions teach her children emotional agility, the ability to handle warmth without dependency, truth without resentment. They learn that strength and softness aren't enemies, they're allies, that compassion can coexist with confrontation, that love isn't always gentle and discipline isn't always cruel. Her children grow up understanding a rare kind of harmony, one that most adults never reach. They don't see love as a fantasy or truth as brutality. They see them as intertwined forces that, when combined, create balance. And that's her secret genius. She raises children who are not only loved, but awakened, capable of facing reality without losing their hearts in the process. Number 7. She doesn't need to be needed. She doesn't need to be needed. And that alone sets her apart in a world where motherhood is often confused with martyrdom. Most mothers find comfort in being indispensable, in knowing their children can't move without them. But the Sigma female is different. Her fulfillment doesn't come from dependency, it comes from witnessing independence. She knows she's done her job right the day her child doesn't need her to survive, think, or decide. That's not detachment, that's mastery. She understands that clinging to motherhood as an identity can quietly cripple both mother and child. So she doesn't raise extensions of herself. She raises individuals. She refuses to make her children emotional crutches for her loneliness or proof of her worth. Her love doesn't demand attachment, it inspires growth. She's the type of mother who can step back without feeling replaced. When her child begins to stand on their own, she doesn't panic. She exhales. Her approach can be misunderstood. People might call her too distant, but in reality she's one of the few who truly understands what love means. Love to her isn't possession, it's liberation. It's the courage to let someone evolve beyond you, even if it means they walk away. She knows dependency creates weakness disguised as closeness, and she refuses to feed that illusion. Her children learn early that she's there when it matters, but she won't cushion every fall or answer every doubt. She trusts them to figure it out because she built them to. When her children eventually outgrow her guidance, she doesn't guilt them into staying close. She celebrates their distance as proof that she succeeded. The Sigma female doesn't raise children who orbit her forever. She raises ones who build their own galaxies. And when they come back, not out of need, but out of genuine respect, that's her quiet victory. No fanfare, no tears. Just a deep inner knowing that she did what most never dare. She raised souls free enough to leave, yet wise enough to remember where their strength was first forged. Number 8. She's not raising kids. She's raising conscious beings. She's not raising kids. She's raising conscious beings. The Sigma female doesn't see motherhood as a duty to produce well-behaved citizens who follow rules and fit neatly into the world's expectations. Her goal runs deeper. She's raising minds that don't just live, they see. Children who question what others accept, who sense when something feels off even when everyone calls it normal. To her, that's real education, not memorizing facts, but awakening awareness. From a young age, her children learn that thinking isn't rebellion, it's responsibility. She doesn't teach them what to think, she teaches them how to think. When they ask questions that most parents would silence, she listens. When they challenge an idea, she doesn't shut them down, she pushes them to explore it. Her home is not an echo chamber of "because I said so." It's a quiet dojo for consciousness, where curiosity is treated as sacred. She knows the world doesn't reward awareness, it rewards compliance, but she refuses to raise her children for comfort over clarity. She'd rather they walk through life awake and misunderstood than blind and accepted. Her children grow up seeing through manipulation, questioning systems that others serve without thought, and sensing the invisible pressures that shape behavior. They don't worship authority, they analyze it. They don't fear difference, they embody it. Her parenting doesn't revolve around making her children liked, it's about making them aligned. She teaches them to follow inner truth even when it isolates them. She helps them understand that self-awareness is a weapon. It cuts through deceit, fear, and social programming. That's why they grow into adults who can stand alone and still feel complete. The Sigma female's version of motherhood isn't sentimental. It's evolutionary. She's not interested in raising people who simply fit into the world. She's shaping ones who will quietly redesign it. Her children won't just blend in. They'll move differently, speak differently, and think in ways that shake foundations. That's her silent revolution, creating conscious beings who see through illusion and act with a calm, unshakable power that no system can own. Number 9. Her coolness is strategic, not accidental. Her coolness is strategic, not accidental. The Sigma female isn't emotionally distant because she lacks warmth. She's distant because she understands its power. She knows affection, when overused, can become emotional sugar, sweet but addictive. Too much warmth breeds dependence, and dependence breeds weakness. So she tempers her affection like a skilled craftsman, just enough to nurture, never enough to create emotional addiction. Her calm detachment isn't coldness, it's calibration. She's the kind of mother who can sit in silence with her child and still radiate presence. She doesn't rush to fill emotional gaps or overcompensate with constant validation. Instead, she lets her children experience stillness, uncertainty, and even mild discomfort, because that's where emotional strength begins. She knows that the ability to self-soothe is what separates the emotionally free from the emotionally needy, and she's determined to raise the former. Her children learn that her silence isn't disinterest. It's space. Space to think, to feel, to regulate. They begin to understand that love doesn't have to be loud or dramatic to be real. The steadiness in her tone, the composure in her energy, that's her language of care. She's not trying to make her children comfortable all the time. She's teaching them to be comfortable within themselves. People who watch her from the outside might call her too composed, as if calm is a flaw. But her children eventually realize that her coolness is the reason they don't break easily. It's why they don't need approval to feel worthy or emotional chaos to feel alive. She's not raising emotional dependence, she's raising emotional adults. Her control is subtle but powerful. It teaches emotional boundaries, clarity, and self-regulation. When her child feels anxious or hurt, they don't run to her to fix it. They pause, reflect, and often fix it themselves. That's her influence, quietly, at work. The Sigma female's coolness isn't a wall, it's wisdom. She knows love that smothers, destroys the very independence it claims to build. So she chooses a different path, one where her composure becomes her child's emotional backbone, and her restraint becomes the reason they'll never crumble under pressure. Number 10. She doesn't nurture dependency. She engineers self-mastery. She doesn't nurture dependency. She engineers self-mastery. The Sigma female knows that the easiest way to weaken a child is to make them believe they can't function without someone else. So while most mothers rush to rescue, she steps back and observes. Her love is not about doing everything for her child, but about teaching them how to do it without her. She gives tools, not crutches, guidance, not control, support, not suffocation. She understands that dependency disguised as care is still bondage. When a mother makes herself indispensable, she creates emotional captivity, a child who confuses love with reliance. The Sigma female refuses to be that kind of mother. Her goal isn't to be needed forever, it's to create someone capable of surviving without her shadow. So she teaches her child self-discipline early. She lets them make choices, face consequences, and solve problems. She doesn't hand them the answers. She hands them the confidence to find them. Her parenting style might look detached, but it's deliberate. She doesn't rush to fix every mistake because she knows struggle forges wisdom. She'd rather see her child frustrated today than helpless tomorrow. She knows that mastery only develops through repetition, reflection, and failure, the very things most parents protect their children from. Her love is preparation, not pampering. Her child grows up learning that independence isn't rebellion, it's respect. They respect themselves enough to handle their own lives, and they respect her because she trusted them to. That's how she raises children who can lead without arrogance and depend on others without losing themselves. People might call her emotionally distant, but the truth is, she's raising someone who won't crumble when life removes the safety nets. Her influence is quiet, but permanent. Years later, when her child stands tall through chaos and doesn't beg for rescue, they'll realize where that strength came from a mother who loved them enough to let them grow sharper through struggle. The Sigma female doesn't raise dependence. She raises forces of nature, calm, capable, and self-governing. Her parenting doesn't produce followers, it produces masters. Number 11. She's the shadow and the light in one frame. She's the shadow and the light in one frame. A walking contradiction that her child learns to understand long before they can name it. The Sigma female doesn't hide her duality. She lets her child see every shade of her warmth that nurtures and her cold that corrects. Her love isn't wrapped in constant comfort. It's balanced by firmness, by distance, by truth. And in witnessing that contrast, her child learns one of the most powerful lessons life can offer, that love and boundaries are not enemies, They are allies. Her warmth is steady, but never performative. She doesn't smother or overexpress. She gives affection with intention, not impulse. When her child needs reassurance, she gives it. When they need correction, she gives that too, without guilt. Her coldness, when it comes, isn't cruelty. It's clarity. It's her way of saying, I'm here, but I won't bend just to make you comfortable. That balance between empathy and edge teaches her child emotional realism, the ability to feel deeply without drowning. She embodies polarity without confusion. Her child learns early that people can love you and still hold you accountable, that someone can be present and still have limits, that emotional maturity isn't about constant warmth, it's about consistency, strength, and truth. This awareness becomes a kind of emotional armor her child carries for life. When her child faces the world, they're already fluent in complexity. They don't mistake honesty for hostility or distance for disinterest. They understand that someone can care and still say no, can love and still walk away. That clarity becomes their greatest gift. Her duality doesn't confuse her child, it completes them. They grow up learning to navigate light and shadow in themselves too, to be kind but not weak, firm but not cruel, vulnerable but not naive. That's the Sigma female's silent genius. She doesn't raise idealists or cynics. She raises balanced beings who know that true love doesn't live in extremes. It lives in truth, in the space where shadow meets light, and both are allowed to exist without apology. Number 12. She protects her child from herd mentality, not the world. She protects her child from herd mentality, not the world. The Sigma female knows the world isn't what breaks most people. Conformity is. She's not interested in raising a child who fits neatly into society's mold of normal. She's raising someone who thinks, questions, and resists the quiet pressure to blend in. While other mothers panic over physical dangers, she's guarding her child from something far more lethal, the death of individuality. She doesn't bubble wrap her child from pain or failure because she knows those are the architects of strength. What she shields them from is the psychological conditioning that turns bright, curious minds into obedient copies. She encourages her child to stand alone even when it feels uncomfortable, to hold an opinion that might not be popular, to choose authenticity over approval, every single time. To her, that's not rebellion, that's survival of the self. When teachers, relatives, or friends try to box her child into expectations, she doesn't interfere with anger. She simply plants awareness. She'll ask her child later, "Did that feel like truth, or did it feel like pressure?" That question alone teaches discernment, the ability to separate influence from integrity. That's her shield, not protection from life, but preparation for it. She doesn't raise people-pleasers, she raises people with spine. She understands that the world rewards compliance until it doesn't, until it needs innovators, thinkers, and creators who have the courage to challenge the script. So while others train their children to follow rules without thought, she trains hers to understand why rules exist, and when to rewrite them. Her home becomes a safe space for free thought, not blind agreement. Her child learns to think independently, even from her. And when that child grows up, they won't crumble under peer pressure or lose themselves in trends. They'll move through life with an internal compass that no crowd can sway. The Sigma female doesn't fear the world's chaos. She fears its sameness. And that's why her child stands out quietly. Not loud, not rebellious, but unmistakably original. She didn't raise them to belong. She raised them to be. The Sigma female as a mother defies every conventional expectation of what motherhood should look like. She is cool, composed, and sometimes distant, but every action, every silence, every lesson is deliberate, a careful architecture of strength, independence, and awareness. She doesn't raise children to fit into the world. She raises children who can stand against it, who can navigate chaos with clarity, and who carry within them a quiet power that cannot be replicated or controlled. Her love is not loud or performative, but it's profound. It's a love that teaches resilience through failure, clarity through contradiction, and freedom through boundaries. Her children inherit her mystery, her composure, her strategic coolness, and her uncanny ability to see truth in a world addicted to illusion. They grow up not just alive, but aware, conscious beings who understand themselves, the world, and the delicate dance between love and strength. This is a motherhood that doesn't ask for praise, doesn't seek validation, and doesn't linger in sentimentality. It's raw, unconventional, and transformative. The Sigma female may be misunderstood by society, but the children she raises carry her wisdom, her resilience, and her extraordinary presence into the world, leaving an invisible but indelible mark wherever they go. Her legacy is not in stories told or moments captured, but in the strength, independence, and consciousness of the lives she has shaped. If you found yourself drawn into this journey, if it gave you insight, perspective, or simply the intrigue of understanding a force as rare as the Sigma female as a mother, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button if this resonated with you, comment below to share your thoughts or experiences, and don't forget to share it with someone who needs to see the depth of this unique, formidable kind of motherhood. Every subscription, like, comment, and share helps us bring more truth, depth, and understanding to the stories that truly matter.